Good afternoon, and welcome to my book talk. My name is Mrs. LeBlanc, and I would like to welcome you to Portbury High School. This afternoon, we're going to escape the halls of Portbury High and enter a world of magical unknown. Today, I will take you on a mysterious path where we will meet many mystical creatures. We will walk through a magical wardrobe. We will spend our afternoon with werewolves and our night hanging out with vampires. We will venture off into treacherous lands with a group of peculiar dwarfs and take off on a quest to gain control of a castle. If this sounds intriguing and inviting, then fantasy is the genre for you. The first book I would like to talk to you about today is C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. C.S. Lewis, or Jack as he preferred to be called, was an Irish novelist and poet. His childhood was happy and carefree. He lived in a large gabled house with passages and an overgrown garden where he loved to explore. In 1908, his fun-loving childhood ended when his mother died of cancer and he was sent away to live in a boarding school. Later in life, he went on to attend Oxford University where he graduated with honors and later became a professor. In addition to teaching at Oxford, he returned to writing children's books. His publisher and some of his friends criticized his works, in particular The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Lewis's Narnia books have since sold more than 1 million copies. At this time, I would like to read you an excerpt from C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You mustn't think, even now, that Evan was quite so bad. He actually wanted his brother and sisters to be turned into stone. He did want Turkish delight and to be a prince, and to pay Peter out for calling him a beast. As for what the witch would do with the others, he didn't want her to be particularly nice to them, certainly not to put them on the same level as himself. But he managed to believe, or pretend to believe, that she wouldn't do anything very bad to them, because he said to himself, all of these people who say nasty things about her are her enemies, and probably half of it isn't true. However, for deep inside him, he really knew that the White Witch was bad and cruel. If you would like to find out more about Edmund and the White Witch, please read C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The second book I would like to speak to you about today is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien was an English writer, poet, university professor, and a popular fantasy writer best known for The Hobbit. The Hobbit is grouped among many popular books in the world, having sold over 10 million copies. Tolkien was born in South Africa in 1892 and died in 1973 at the age of 81 years old. He was taught at home by his mother and learned to read by the age of 4. As a young child, he was bitten by a baboon spider, an event that may have inspired some of his stories. At this time, I will read an excerpt from The Hobbit. Actually, Gollum lived on a slimy island of rock in the middle of the lake. He was watching Bilbo now from the distance, with his pale eyes like telescopes. Bilbo could not see him, but he was wondering a lot about Bilbo, for he could see that he was no goblin at all. Gollum got into his boat and shot off for the island, while Bilbo was sitting on the brink altogether flummoxed and at the end of his way in his wits. Suddenly came up Gollum and whispered and hissed, "Bless us and splash us, my precious. I guess it's a choice feast. At least a tasty morsel it make us, Gollum." And when he said Gollum, he made a horrible swallowing noise in his throat. This is how he got his name Precious. If you would like to know more about Precious and Gollum, read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The next fantasy title I would like to introduce to you is Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time. Madeleine L'Engle was an American writer best known for her young adult novel A Wrinkle in Time. She was born in 1918 and passed away in 2007. At the age of 5, she wrote her very first story. Her early writing did not lead to her academic success. Many of her teachers thought she was not very intelligent and deemed her as being stupid. Unable to please her teachers and parents, she turned to her books and her love of writing. Her well-known title, A Wrinkle in Time, was rejected more than 30 times before it finally won a Newbery Medal. I will read an excerpt to you from her novel. Mrs. Watson tugged at her second boot. "I said," she grunted, shoving her foot down in it, "that there is such a thing as a tesseract." Her foot went down into the boot, and grabbing shawls, scarves, and hat, she hustled out the door. Mrs. Murray stayed very still, making no move to help the old woman. As the door opened, Fortinbras streaked in, panting, wet and shiny as a seal. He looked at Mrs. Murray and whined. The door slammed. "Mother, what's the matter?" Meg cried. "What did she say? What is it?" "The tesseract," Mrs. Murray whispered. What did she mean? How could she have known? If you would like to find out more about the tesseract and Meg and Mrs. Murray, read A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. The next book I would like to introduce to you is one of everyone's favorites, Stephenie Meyer's Twilight. Stephenie Meyer, married and a mother of 3, is an American young adult fiction writer best known for her vampire series, Twilight. This very popular and well-known love story came to her in a dream. After working on this idea for several months, she was able to turn her dream into a novel. With help, Meyer was able to secure a 3-book deal from Little, Brown and Company, which included a $750,000 advance. Her book has become a well-known love story and has created a bloodthirst in many readers. Emmett grabbed Jasper from behind in the next second, locking him into massive steel grip. But Jasper struggled on, his wild, empty eyes focused only on me. Beyond the shock, there was also pain. I had tumbled down to the floor by the piano, with my arms thrown out instinctively to catch my fall, into the jagged shards of glass. Only now did I feel the searing, stinging pain that ran from my wrist to the crease inside my elbow. Dazed and disoriented, I looked up from the bright red blood pulsing out of my arm into the fevered eyes of 6 suddenly ravenous vampires. If you would like to find out what happened in Twilight by Stephenie Meyer, I suggest you pick up a copy today. The last title that I want to introduce to you is another well-known favorite by many, and this one is Suzanne Collins' book, The Hunger Games. Suzanne Collins grew up in a military family where she was constantly moving. In 1991, she began her writing career, writing for children's television shows such as Nickelodeon. In 2008, Scholastic Press released The Hunger Games. This story was inspired by her father's career in the military, which gave her insight to poverty, starvation, and the effects of war. As a result of the popularity of The Hunger Games, Collins was named one of Time magazine's most influential people in 2012. Her well-read novel has since turned into a major motion picture. At this time, I will read a short excerpt from her novel. It's a child's scream, a young girl's scream. There's no one in the arena capable of making that sound except Ruth. And now I'm running, knowing this may be a trap, knowing 3 careers may have posed an attack on me. But I can't help myself. There's another high-pitched cry, this time my name. Katniss! Katniss! Rue! I shout back, so she knows I'm near. So they know I'm near. And hopefully the girl who has attacked them with tracker jaggers and gotten an 11 they still can't explain will be enough to pull their attention away from her. Rue, I'm coming! When I break into the clearing, she's on the ground, hopelessly entangled in a net. She just has time to reach her hand through the mesh and say my name before the spear enters her body. If you would like to know the fate of Rue and more about Katniss, please pick up a copy of Suzanne Collins's novel, The Hunger Games. Thank you for participating in my book talk this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you.